the founder of a group called Male Lupus Warriors, and he's here today to talk about lupus, autoimmune diseases, any kind of a chronic situation, and how he has come not only survive through it, but thrive through it. So welcome, Emmitt, to our group. It's so nice to have you with us.
Well, I appreciate you having me and me being here with you. Thank you very much.
You want to tell us a little bit about your background and your story?
Yep, absolutely. For any of you that do know me, as you can see on my shirt here, I am the founder of Male Lupus Warriors. And that started because of my journey that I had went through. And as I had mentioned before, it started because in the 25 years of doing it, I've only been advocating since January. And the reason why is because I'm such a hard worker to where money driven me was my drive. I worked, a decent job, good job. I made good money. I didn't have time to do things. Lupus finally took me out for the last time last year. And now I got all the time in my hands to do everything I need to do to create Male Lupus Warriors. So if we want to really go back, we go back to 1980. 1980, when I was a kid, I had a rash and fevers, rash all over my body, mainly in the upper part of my chest and shoulder area. But I had fevers that the doctors could not explain. I missed a lot of school until my parents took me in because they knew something was wrong. At the time, the doctors didn't know how to treat it except to recommend that I wear some type of cream to prevent the sun rays, and fevers just to take Tylenol. So that was my diagnosis. Go home, take Tylenol, and stay out of the sun. So of course, in the summertime, I'm the only kid wearing long sleeves and a turtleneck, trying to play out there with everybody else. That was going on for about a little bit over a year. After about a year, it seemed to just kind of go away on its own, thinking that, it finally worked, the cream, the staying out of the sunlight. Oh, and also don't eat seafood, which I love seafood, everybody, just letting you know. But they told me not to eat seafood as well. So how that came in, I don't know. But anyway, once it went away, everything was fine. I kind of lived a normal life as a kid, little minor here and there that every kid goes through until 15 years later, at the peak of my 25 years of age. I was a manager of an auto shop. I had made good money. I've already had property. I've already had everything going for me to where I was kind of unstoppable. So little aches and pains that I was having, it didn't allow me to stop, didn't tell me to go to the hospital and get checked out. It was just one of those things where I just decided to, keep going on with my life and keep everything going. The pains were getting so bad where the joint pains is what really started. I remember going to the emergency room, having joint pains, and they would x-ray me and look at everything and tell me nothing's wrong. So I'm looking crazy, so I'm going back home. 3-4 days later, now my knees are acting up. I couldn't even get out of bed one day. I had to have a coworker come and get me from home, take me to the emergency room. Same thing. They checked me out. And actually, by the time I got there, I noticed that my knees were actually feeling a lot better. So I said, I'm already here. Let's get checked out. Doctors looked at me, did the x-rays again, told me nothing is wrong. So after hearing that, with the wrists, with the elbows, with the hips, the knees again, the shoulders, I didn't go back. It was just one of those things where I was tired of them telling me nothing is wrong, but yet I thought something was wrong because this isn't normal. I was actually having pains one day at work in my lower back, which I was forced to go to the ER because the owners of the company saw me and they decided that I needed to go so I can get help. And I'm like, you know what? I'll just go, let them give me a clean bill of health, and I'm going to come right back. That day, I left to the urgent care. I didn't go back to work for almost 2 years later because they found something that day and they had taken me to the Memorial Hospital. It was one of those things where, Mr. Henderson, we don't know what's going on with you, but we can't treat you here. So, okay, so here I am thinking, I got to go back to work. I can't go to the hospital. They said, no, you need to. So sure enough, I went in. Almost 3 weeks later, I was told I had systemic lupus. Again, as a kid, at that age, I didn't know what lupus was. My first thing I was going to ask the doctor was, is this something that can be treated? The doctor said, yeah, there's lifetime treatment with it. And I said, lifetime? He said, yeah, lupus is a rare thing in guys, and we don't have a cure for it. And I'm like, wow, that's kind of encouraging to tell me, but let's see how it goes. So that's how I got diagnosed with lupus. But then, the journey from there, had gone everywhere from sideways to down to back up again to back down again. And what I mean by that was, we all know that with any autoimmune system, that the medications that we're taking, helps us, but then there's side effects to it. Also, we know that having one autoimmune disease opens the door for other autoimmune or other diseases as well. And yes, I got a lot of that. I can get into the major, should I say, the major things that I've gone into in regards to treatments and procedures were that lupus had got to my heart. It put me into a coma for about 3 weeks where I was unresponsive and they were trying to treat my heart. Told my family I wasn't even going to make it at that time. So that time in my life was really crazy, and especially for my family. Once they ended up treating me with IVIG, at the time, it wasn't as big as a drug as it is now, but it was something that the doctor said, let's try this. And sure enough, that got me to revive, and my symptoms, everything came back to normal. They did, however, send me to rehab because after out of the coma that I was in for that time, I had to relearn how to walk and talk and use my limbs all over again. So after that, my rheumatologist who I was with decided that I need more than just the medication. I need something or my heart's not going to take another flare. So they found a clinical trial for me, and best thing that I've ever could have done. So I do want to just put a side note that I do encourage to support clinical trials. I do support these things and these other options. Advocate for yourself and look for these options because you never know how these can help you the way it helped me today. So that clinical trial was a bone marrow stem cell transplant. Okay. I had to sign a book, of course, and waiving certain things. But at that time of my life, it's what I needed. I was going into flares into the hospital about a year, an average of a week for 12 months. And that was crazy. But once they offered it to me, I went ahead and did the procedure. My symptoms had slowed down a lot. Flares slowed down. However, the procedure still came. Since then, I was on peritoneal dialysis for over a year. I had a kidney transplant given to my brother, so I'm blessed with that. I've also had joint replacements. The avascular necrosis was so bad in my joints that I had a knee replacement. I had a left shoulder replacement. I need both my hips looked at. My right knee my left knee is starting to have the problems. So I still got joint issues that's going on, but again, it's just one of those things that comes along with the territory that I'm going through in my own personal journey. Not only that, but I've also had the interstitial lung disease. I was on oxygen for about a month, carrying oxygen, and I'm a young guy. And for people to see me in the stores and see people seeing this, it's like everybody's probably on their mind, like, what's wrong with this guy? He looks normal, but yet he has his oxygen. Nobody knows our story until we actually tell it and we let them know. So, it's just those things that I've been through that kind of makes everything, it puts it all in perspective when you have an autoimmune disease of what you have and how judgment cannot be pushed on to people because we don't know what's going on. So with that also, I had my gallbladder just removed. I've also had shingles for a very long time they could not get rid of. Gout is something that a lot of people can suffer from that I've had forever. I've had the problem that's currently going on right now is with my brain. All these years, lupus did me to my body physically, but it was my brain, my mental health that kept me going. And now they're telling me there's a matter on my brain that they cannot diagnose today. All right, so I need the doctors to do their part while I do my part and continue living and thriving and get past this. There's no diagnosis for it, but yet, should I say, I'm only gonna say yet, until they find one, then we'll move on and do what we have to do from there. So I kind of summed up a lot of things, Deanna, that kind of went on for me. More info is going to be out in a book that I am currently writing, and it's going to be more in detail. I'm going to have pictures. You guys see me now as a male lupus warrior, but you're going to see pictures of me that you won't even recognize me because of what lupus did to me. But again, I look at those and I look at that as my motivation to not get to that point again, to not let this thing beat me. And if I can encourage anybody out there, that is to lift your head up and look what it put you through and realize you don't want to go through this again. I'm not. Lupus is going to take me where it takes me, but I'm going to be right there fighting every single part of the way.
God bless you. And it's so true. I think for me, one of the biggest challenges is that people look at the outside and they don't see sickness. And I'm
Right.
sure, you know, can you talk a little bit about that when they look, like you started to talk about the grocery store? So people side of you, and hey, you look fantastic. You got a nice glow going, you know, you look you look healthy.
Right.
So how do you handle that when people say, what's
You know,
going on?
it started back, you know, when I first got diagnosed and I tried to attempt to go back to work or go out to the public after about 2 years of getting treatments and medicine. And I physically, mentally, everything was different about me at the time. However, I still kept the thought that, you know what, I can still do everything. But then when I went out there and people hasn't seen me in a while and I'm hearing things, I went to the job to see everybody. Only a few people knew, but you know, the first comment that was made to me was I had gained so much water weight from the steroids and prednisone. Somebody had told me, he said, like, Emmitt, it didn't look like you missed any meals while you were gone. And I kind of took it as, wow. I chuckled a little bit just to give them a little sense of humor, but inside I'm like, I'm embarrassed because this wasn't me prior to it.
Right.
Prior to it, you know, I was lifting weights, I was physical, I did so much good things, it wasn't me. So fast forward, you know, in the later years, we all know with the ups and downs, physically wise, we go through, it was one of those things where if you didn't know my story, sometimes I don't have time to explain, but and I don't give excuses either. I don't give excuses either. If somebody, you know, tells me, why can't you hang out with us tonight? I know inside I'm tired, but it was so much of a stigma again for men to make people feel like we can't do things, where I kind of sucked it up a little bit and felt like I had to. I learned from this disease to where, you know what, it's okay to be me. It's okay for me to tell people how I feel and what I'm going through, because the real ones are going to be there. The real ones are going to be true. The ones that laugh at me and get back at me in somehow, some other way, they're no consideration or thought of mine at all. And that's what I learned. And that's how mentally I keep myself in the game. So currently now, because of my knee replacement, I can't run. However, I walk. I can walk 6 to 10 miles at any given time to keep my physical part of it. My shoulder replacement doesn't allow me to lift the weights that I used to do, but I'm still in there lifting the smaller weights. I don't care if somebody smaller than me looks at me lifting up the small weights. Again, they don't know your story. And I'm proud to sit there and prove that I can do this, but I don't need to prove a point to anybody. I don't. I just need to let people know that, yes, I can have an illness, I can have a disease, but you're not seeing me not doing these things. You're seeing me out and about. You're seeing me in public. You're seeing me at the gym. You're seeing me being active. And that's just me. So it all starts in a mental state to keep yourself happy with you. Be happy with yourself no matter what you're going through, no matter what ailment, no matter what hinders you out there. Be happy with you and knowing that you are loved no matter what, and you're not in this alone. There's a lot of people out there that gone through what I've gone through that may think they're alone, but guys, women, we're all out here in this together. There is somebody to talk to that can help us out of these things and to kind of give you, you know, not a handout, but a hand up to help you in regards to what you need to go through.
So can you talk a little bit about the mental health issues? Because I know, you know, just from my own battles with it, that any kind of a chronic illness, you're going to get depression. You're going to get anxiety. You're going to go through periods of anger. You're going to go through periods of resentment. You're going to go through all of that going on in your head. How do you deal with all of that?
You know, dealing with it, it's not easy. It's not easy, everybody. It's one of those things where, again, once you start loving yourself, once you start doing more self-care, self-love, it'll be easy to go against anything that's out there. For me, again, for the mental health of it, for the 25 years this year, I've been sick with lupus. It's my mental health to get me to where I'm at today. It got me to advocate for it. It got me to stand strong for it. It got me to look forward to whatever lupus or any disease has to bring me. It looks forward to it. Again, I think starting with the self-love and self-care, and even if that means to meditate to yourself, be to yourself, find yourself, start with that. And then bring the people around you closest to you in your circle. Therefore, once you're doing that, you'll realize that people are going to accept you no matter what you go through, no matter what you do. I put it out there that I'm sick, and I'm still getting people that know me since a kid tell me all this time, Emmitt, I didn't know. Well, that's because I decide not to give my story to the world that I'm sick and give it as an excuse. It's not. telling my story now is something that I don't want to use as an excuse to get anything out of it, except the inspiration I can give to others that are going through this now. But it all started up here with me.
Yeah, I totally agree with you there. I find it actually empowering knowing that, you know, maybe in telling the hard parts of the journey that we go through, maybe we are in turn helping somebody else come to grips with what they're going through, and then making them realize that, you know, having some kind of a diagnosis, anything like this, is not a death sentence. We
Right,
still live our lives. We are no different than any completely healthy marathon running kind of person who can drop dead tomorrow.
right.
We all live our life every day as if it's the last day. That's the only thing we can do. And we're
Yes.
no different. I mean, you could have a child walk across the street and get hit by a car. We still have
Right.
to all live as if today is the last day, do everything we want, find that fulfilling job like you're doing now, something that truly feeds your soul, and finds, you know, inspiration in others to help and become part of your group. Let go of the toxic people. I'm sure you've had that happen over the years.
Oh yeah. And if I could also throw in too, I think one of the biggest things for me, since I've gotten to the point to where I can pretty much put my lupus behind me, however I know it's there, is that I'm making up for what lupus took away from me. For 25 years, I was down a lot, a lot. And what I mean by that is sickness, flares, procedures, recovery time, every time, not going here, not traveling, not doing this, not doing that. Since I am able, I am doing everything I can to make up for it because time is still here. We have time. I am not letting a day go by to where I'm not going to do something to make myself or somebody else smile. And for me, that's a huge accomplishment. I turned 50 years old this year, which I know I don't look it, but
You don't look it.
thank you, considering the chemotherapy, radiation, and all the procedures, I'm again living life what lupus had taken away from me. And so it's not going to win. It's not going to win. It had me down, but it's not going to win because I'm showing out right now.
And you know what? I think, and in my own mind it happened, I'm sure it did in yours. I think going through that almost lifts you above and beyond somebody who's just kind of sleepwalking through life. It almost, for me, and it was almost like an awakening where all of a sudden I could look at the sky and see how beautiful the clouds were. And I can now see images in the clouds that I didn't see for years. I saw
Right,
blue sky or gray sky. I saw pretty leaves on the trees, but I didn't see the color. I didn't
right.
appreciate the magical things in life. And that changes. You know, when you have a, you know, a time where somebody says to you, you may not make it through another week. That changes. It changes your perspective. It changes
It
what's
does.
important. I almost wish that everybody had, and I don't wish, I don't wish illness on anybody, but I almost wish that they had that moment of clarity. That's what I want to call it. A moment of clarity where you can see what's important and what's not.
Right, right.
Just
And
change.
to piggyback on that, you're absolutely right. If people could see the clarity, like you had mentioned, the clouds, you know, the sunset, the beach, you know, hearing the birds, all that stuff is there. It's just a matter of if you wanting to see that. Um, don't get me wrong. Anybody that's out there that feels that they are sick, they can't do much, my heart goes out to you, and I will never down anybody for wanting to do just them. I don't, you know, I won't down that at all. You do need a recovery time for your body. For some people, it's longer than others. There's nothing wrong with that when you have an autoimmune or any disease. There's nothing wrong with that. It's just that, you know, there's a point to where you are going to get yourself going. You are going to see the trees, the birds, the clouds. You're going to see the family. You're going to go travel. You're going to do things. And as long as you plant that seed, that's going to come over any autoimmune disease or any type of doubt that an illness can bring you. Just plant it.
Yes, that's it. That's the beauty in life. That is. And it's a shame that we don't, you know, I'm 54. So it's a shame that we don't see that in our younger years and really understand that and have the amount of time to make that happen. Not that I'm saying
Right.
we don't have time, but if we could only have seen that at 18, 20, 25,
Yes.
and had that lifelong journey available to us, imagine the things we'd have done.
Oh, it's
Just
imaginable.
imagine. Yeah,
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. There was a lot of things that I wish that I could have, been able to do at an earlier age. But you know what? God set my path for me to
right.
where this is what's supposed to happen in my life. Without him giving me this, I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing now. And I'm kind of hoping that my work does touch people and inspire people. So there's no regrets. There's no regrets at all. Lupus changed me in a way to where I'm actually the best I think I've been in my years. And what I mean by that is what I'm doing for people, what I'm doing for myself and for my family, and just the things that I can see still happening. It's the best thing.
It is. Amen. I agree with you 100% there. 100%. So can you tell us a little bit more about the male lupus warriors? Because I know you're getting into some amazing things and helping some amazing people. We were talking about that, earlier. And I'd like everybody to hear what you're doing because, and I know you and your friend, she has a handbag. Is it handbags that she's
Oh,
doing?
but yeah, she's doing what's called Hugs and Bags, which is the organization that I'm involved with. It's just a nonprofit organization. The both of us had collaborated as Male Lupus Warriors and Hugs and Bags to, again, out there for the community. On the nonprofit side, during COVID, if you guys all know that we were feeding up to 600 people a day since the beginning of March to the end of July. And we had a sponsor that provided us meals, and we were the vessel that was going out and helping everybody from seniors, disabled, veterans, single families, and the homeless. So we were doing that. And despite having lupus, I was right there in the forefront, making sure all that gets done. Because for me, I would rather see a smile from somebody after giving them a meal than me having to wonder about what's going on with my health. I didn't put that in consideration at all. I was careful during COVID, but we made sure we took care of everybody. And then on my side, which is the Male Lupus Warrior side, again, that was created. It was been in making for a long time, but finally put out there, at the beginning of this year. As a guy with lupus, which we are not the majority of the people diagnosed with lupus, I just want to be a voice out there for guys as well. And when I talk about guys with lupus, it also has to do with guys and their mental health, dealing not just with lupus, but dealing with any type of autoimmune disease on there. Because as guys, when we're growing up, we're told that, we got to be the man of the house. We got to be the rock. We got to be the foundation. We got to put on that strong image that we are the ones that nothing can beat us and beat us down. I didn't know that I was going to end up having a lifetime disease that could have questioned all that with my life. However, I've learned to get through it. I'm at where I'm at now because of this. And I decide to share my inspiration and what my passion is, and that's to help others, not just with lupus, again, with any autoimmune disease that feels like they're down, that feels like it's hard to go forward in life because of it. I'm here to tell you the difficult road is there, but you can overcome it. That's what I'm telling you. As Male Lupus Warriors, since I came out, yes, I've been grateful to be presented on certain platforms to help me get exposed, to put everything out there. I got a huge collaboration coming up with another fellow warrior that you guys are going to see on your show tomorrow. And me and him will get into that as well. It's just, again, with everything that I'm doing, I am glad to put out there that lupus is something that needs to be known. And when I feel that somebody comes to me, whether it's in public, whether I have a shirt on or a mask, and somebody asks me, what is lupus? That's like, my day is done. My day is made. I educated somebody on what lupus is. And to me, that is huge because it takes to teach one to reach 1 million people. And that's all it takes. That's
Exactly.
what
You
it
teach
takes.
one, they teach one, they teach two. That's how we spread. That's
Yes. So
exactly right.
I'm proud of Male Lupus Warriors, and I wanted specifically to call it Male Lupus Warriors, but it's open for men and women. I'm on social media under Male Lupus Warriors on Facebook and Instagram. I also got a Twitter page I just started, so I'm still kind of get the hang of that. But it's one of those things that putting the male perspective out there to let people know that the lupus story is coming from a guy. You may not heard too many, but now you're going to hear me. And that was my whole point of it. And because of it, yes, people are talking to me and asking about it.
And I think that's wonderful. And you're going to get women that have it, and there's going to be women that have guys that have it.
Yes.
It's hard to be in a relationship and not understand what pain actually feels like. I mean, I can say to my husband, God love him. He's a wonderful person. We've been together since we were 16. And I can say to him, I'm not feeling too good today. I'm in pain. But he does not understand the pain of a knife stabbing you over and over again because he's never experienced it. I don't expect him to understand it, but he can't do
Right.
it. Now, somebody who's in a relationship that hasn't been as committed, as long, as understanding as ours, that doesn't usually last. So
Right.
it's
Right.
really good to have a male perspective for some of these females and help
Yes.
them understand the difference.
And you know what? I've been reached out a few times by sisters with lupus, reaching out to
Mhm.
me to talk to their partner, their significant
Exactly.
other, to kind of let them know what I go through. To where if I'm strong enough to handle it, not saying any woman out there is weaker, but
Right.
now you have an idea of what she goes through. And
Exactly.
even though we're all different, we don't want things to get to a worse point. So support is the biggest thing. We need that from our people, from our partners, from our families. And then, of course, the lupus community in a whole. We
Right.
support each other. I love the engagements that we all have with each other. All it takes is somebody to put a post that they need prayers. Next thing you know, there's millions of prayers coming in. And it's one of those things to where, yes, people have to understand they cannot know what we feel unless they walked in our shoes.
Yep.
And if they have not done that, all they can do is sympathize with us a little bit, to where, we just want somebody to listen, not to tell us how to feel. That's it. That's it.
Exactly. Exactly. That's a beautiful thing. That's
Yes,
a
it is.
beautiful thing. Yeah.
It
I'm
is.
so happy you came on with us today. Do you have any last words for us? Anything else you want to tell us? Maybe you want to come on with our friend Dion soon and announce whatever it is y'all are working on?
You know what? And me and Dion right now, and Dion, I know and hope you're listening, bro. We got some things that were coming up. The whole concept, and we put out there that we are going to collab. It's just that what we got in store, we're waiting to put that out. However, when you got a brother all the way here in California to a brother all the way over there on the east,
By
and
me.
we're going to meet in the middle to inspire the lupus community as guys with lupus, with experience, and with thriving, we're going to make an impact. And that's what we want. We want this to go worldwide, where we want everybody to know and hear about what lupus is. So we're working. We're working.
I love it. I absolutely love it. I'm so thrilled you came on today. Is it okay if people have questions, if they a comment here and there or ask you, message you?
Absolutely. Like I had mentioned to you, Deanna, I'm an open book. I don't mind telling people what I've gone through. If they want to contact me personally, if they want to read about me, you got, my social media pages. My email is maillupuswarriors@gmail.com. Feel free to reach out for me for anything. I get a lot, and if I don't respond to you like in 2-3 minutes, don't beat me for it, but you will get a response.
Okay. That's wonderful. Thanks again.